Now, this is the second watch from this brand on the channel, and I must say that the first one was very impressive, apart from one little thing that didn't exactly land with at least some of you very well. Well, on this watch I'm happy to report they sorted that little thing out, which is great. However, the important question is, of course, is the build quality still as impressive, and did they break anything else in the process? Well, we have it here. Let's find out. Hello and welcome back! By the way, if I'm to believe my YouTube statistics, 75% of my regular viewers are not actually subscribed to my channel, which is a lot, and being subscribed doesn't cost you anything. However, I'll be honest, it does help the channel a great deal, so if you have a spare second while watching this video, well, do hit that subscribe button. It will be greatly appreciated. And before we get too deep into this video, a quick disclaimer: BETTIMER did send me this new chronograph for review and of course to make you aware of its existence during this Black Friday sale. They don't want it back, and as always on my part I will do a comprehensive review of this watch, and all the necessary links and any discount codes that brand provided me with I will put in the description of this video. So, based on the comments, a lot of you, and to be honest, me too, really like the design of BETTIMER logo, and BETTIMER quite prudently decided to keep their logo on the dial, which is definitely a good news. And by the way, it does show that brands do read your comments and take your feedback very seriously, so keep those comments coming, just please keep it civil. What is even better news is that they now removed the name of their brand off the dial, so the dial now looks definitely way more balanced with that component out of the way. And because not everybody could pronounce or make perfect sense of that brand name, this is definitely to some degree a positive development. I'm not sure what the future holds for that name, so we will have to wait and see. In terms of the design, well, like the first watch, this one is also a homage to a quite striking timepiece by Girard, Perregaux Laureato. However, this time it is obviously a chronograph. Like in their first watch, where BETTIMER decided to offer something a bit more interesting, like PT5000 caliber instead of so widely used Seiko NH35, in this watch we also find something a bit more unusual. A SeaGull mechanical chronograph ST1903. Okay, not that much unusual, but definitely interesting, and will be a big plus for those of you who consider only mechanical watches to be a real deal. Other than that, well, no points for design originality here really. However, as we will see now, the build quality is top-notch. Priced at around $230-ish, BETTIMER offers this timepiece in two colorways, white and the blue one that I have here. So we have 38.5mm case diameter, which might sound a bit on the smaller side. However, this integrated bracelet timepiece definitely wears larger than the case diameter suggests. The lug width is not particularly relevant here because we will not be able to replace this bracelet with anything aftermarket. However, for academic purposes, we see that it is about 25mm, and the bracelet tapers down to 18mm by the clasp. Lug-to-lug distance is 46.1mm, however, the end-link on the integrated bracelet actually has very little articulation, so I think it is worthwhile to include it in our measurement, and so the distance is 49.6mm. Still a well-managed proportion and should make this watch suitable for the wrists starting from about 6 inches and up. And the case height is 13mm, which is also okay considering that we have SeaGull mechanical chronograph caliber in the back of this watch. Now, measuring the bracelet length, and we get nearly 9 inches of potential coverage, which is a lot, so we have plenty of spare links here. And this watch weighs 155 grams and 136 grams after adjusting it to my about 7-inch wrist. So turning to the case, and we really have well-sculpted full stainless steel construction case here. The fixed bezel, which is executed in the shape of a large octagonal nut, has a circular brushing on the top and high polish finish on the sides. I'm still not quite sure how BETTIMER managed to integrate this bezel so seamlessly with the case, but the result is very impressive. As far as I know, the Girard Perregaux implements this bezel as an actual nut and then screws it onto the top of the case. I'm not sure if this is done the same way here, but as I mentioned just now, the result is very good. We We have horizontal brushing on top of the case and longitudinal brushing on the sides, and the brushed surfaces are separated by high-polished chamfers. These lug-to-lug chamfers also continue to the bracelet links, creating a nice and cohesive look to this timepiece. On the right-hand side of the case we will find a screw-down crown, which is signed with BETTIMER logo, and the chronograph pushers that have small decorative nuts at the base, continuing the pattern of the nut shape of the bezel. Looking at the back of the case, and we have a pretty straightforward screw-on back case with some specifications engraved on the perimeter. I personally would prefer an exhibition back case here, because SeaGull ST19 movement is actually quite interesting movement to look at, so maybe something for future upgrades. And we have 100 meters of declared water resistance. Well, it is plausible, especially with the screw-down crown and screw-on back case. However, we still have chronograph pushers here, which are not as watertight. So, in short, my view, it is definitely splash-proof. However, keep it away from the water. So we have a slightly domed sapphire crystal here. The crystal is installed a fraction of a millimeter above the bezel, and because there is a slight distortion as we look at the dial at acute angles, the crystal is most likely single-domed. There is no mention of any anti-reflective coating in the listings, however, because of the contrasted dial, this watch deals with reflections really well. And talking of the dial, we have a really good level of attention to detail here. We have an applied minute track with printed minute chaptering, the button hour markers are also applied and covered with loom. The dial background features Cloud de Paris pattern, that is those tiny pyramids chiseled into the dial background. We have 3 sub-dials here which are slightly recessed and are also decorated with circular pattern, resulting in a subtle sunburst effect. And we have a really tastefully done, well, at least in my humble opinion, applied brand logo under the 12 o'clock marker. Now, running my 15-minute loom test, and we can see that the loom is applied very consistently on hour markers and on hands. The loom is very decent, it is a dress watch, so no diver level loom, however, it is still definitely above average for this style of watch. So, as I mentioned earlier, we have here SeaGull mechanical chronograph caliber ST1903, a very interesting movement indeed, based on a Venus 175 Swiss caliber, which Chinese manufacturer SeaGull purchased a license to produce, as well as all the tooling to produce it in 1960s. This ST1903 movement is one of the variants of that ST90 series, and it is still manufactured by SeaGull, which arguably is the largest movement manufacturer in the world, making about a quarter of all the movements produced globally. This particular caliber has a typical chronograph layout with a center second chronograph hand. The subdial at 9 o'clock is a running second indicator, subdial at 6 o'clock position is a 24-hour indicator, and subdial at 3 o'clock is a chronograph 13-minute accumulator. The chronograph second hand can be started and stopped by pressing the top pusher, and the bottom pusher is used to reset this flyback chronograph. It is recommended to stop the chronograph with the top pusher first before resetting it. It is a so-called column wheel chronograph, which generally results in more robust and tactile operation of the chrono pushers. Now, it is important to remember that it is a mechanical movement with about 42 hours of power reserve, which means that we will need to wind it up pretty much daily for a normal operation, which in some respect is fine, definitely normal for such type of watch. My only concern here is that with the screw-down crown we will need to undo the crown every time we need to hand wind this watch, so personally I would rather see a push-pull crown here. As for the bracelet, well, the execution is very good. The bracelet links are made out of solid stainless steel, the tolerances are very good too, and the links are connected by screws, which is usually a hallmark of a premium timepieces. We have a butterfly clasp here, which is signed with brand logo. The clasp works very well, so it is all good. As it usually happens with this type of clasps, the clasp has no macro adjustment. However, BETTIMER now includes a half link in this bracelet, which will help with getting a more accurate fit. On the wrist, this watch is well balanced and is very comfortable. Here it is on my about 7-inch wrist. So, in terms of my verdict, I think BETTIMER really nailed the execution here. The build quality is above the price point, we have all the premium materials, and the SeaGull ST1903 mechanical caliber in the back of it is definitely a cherry on the top. My only gripe here is that screw-down crown on the daily wind movement. Other than that, it is a great timepiece for the price. What are your thoughts? Well, do let us know in the comments. And thank you for sticking around until the end of this video. If you find this review useful, well, I'm sure you will enjoy this one too. It was chosen by the YouTube algorithm, so it must be good. Give it a click. Thanks for watching, take care, and I'll see you in the next video.